Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I have a tutorial on this look for you guys. It's a plum, coppery, super metallic, smoky eye. I love the way it turned out. I think using color for smoky eyes is a great alternative to your classic black smoky eye. You get the same effect where it's super sultry and you get that darkness, but it is a little bit softer than your classic black smoky eye. So if you're looking to try something fun or new, then try this look out. I love the way it turned out and I hope you guys do too. So without further ado, let's just get right into the tutorial. I'm starting off with my Nivea Post Shave Balm and my Makeup Forever Smoothing Primer, and then going in with my Marc Jacobs Color Corrector in 300 Covert Affairs. This is a really cool yellow and green swirled color corrector, and it's going to correct any redness. So I'm applying that to my cheeks, around my nose, and any blemishes that I may have. Then taking my IT Cosmetics for Ulta Airbrush Concealer Brush, I'm blending that all away. Next, I'm going in with my Kat Von D Lock-It Color Correcting Eyeshadow Primer in the shade Light, and I'm just applying this all over my lids up to the very arch of my brow bone on both sides. The mistake I made was I actually let this sit for too long, so I went to blend it out with my fingers and nothing was moving. So that I corrected by just applying another layer of the primer and blending it out immediately with my fingers. For my foundation, I'm using the Too Faced Born This Way foundation in the shade Sand, and I'm pumping that right onto my face just for convenience sake, to be honest. And then using my damp beauty blender, I am just going to town. I sped this up and cut out a lot of chunks because I literally spend maybe 10 minutes blending out my foundation, but pretty much blend it until your hand is sore and your foundation looks seamless. For my concealers, I'm using the Urban Decay Naked Skin Concealer and the Tarte Maracuja Creaseless Concealer, and all the products with the shades are listed in the info box down below as always. But starting off with the Tarte Concealer, I'm placing that underneath my eyes and then layering the Urban Decay Concealer right over that and also down the center of my face where I want any areas to be highlighted because I want a super bright effect. Then I'm taking my Nars concealer in the shade Ginger and I'm dotting that over and around any blemishes for some added coverage. To blend all of that in, I'm using the round side of my beauty blender and just tapping that over the concealer. And for any larger blemishes, I'm using my finger to tap the concealer in for added coverage. For my under eyes, I'm using the pointed side of the beauty blender and really just tapping that over the concealer to make it look airbrushed. To set my under eyes, I'm using my Laura Mercier translucent powder on my beauty blender, the same beauty blender, and I'm really packing that on underneath the eyes to completely set everything I've put down in place and also to help brighten my concealer. I'm also using the powder to contour my nose slightly just by bringing it along the edges like that, and also applying powder on the creases of my nose where I usually crease first. To powder my face, I'm using the L'Oreal Infallible Pro Matte Powder with this IT Cosmetics for Ulta powder brush, and I'm packing that onto my face liberally. I really like using a lot of powder because I feel like it just gives me a more airbrushed finish, and it also helps my makeup personally last a lot longer. I'm using the same brush to just dust off any excess Laura Mercier powder as well. For my contour, I'm going in with the Lorac Pro Contour Palette and taking the medium contour shade on my trusty Nars brush. I'm building up a pretty heavy contour. Whenever I'm doing a more dramatic makeup look with my eyes, I like to play up my face makeup also just to give it a nice balance. And I like using these up and down short strokes to just blend out the contour nicely. And don't forget to get your jawline, your chin, your double chin. And I'm also catching the outer third of my forehead and my hairline. Next, I'm taking this Morphe E28 brush with the same medium contour shade, and I'm lightly contouring my nose, primarily just to add back some definition. And I really want to be subtle with it, so I'm using the same IT Cosmetics powder brush and just buffing those edges out. With my Sigma angled contour brush and my Hourglass Luminous Bronze Light bronzer, I'm liberally dousing my face in this powder. I'm focusing it primarily above where I contoured, but blending out the contour a little bit with the same powder, and also hitting my forehead, around my hairline, my chin, and my nose. Pretty much all the high points in my face where I would naturally get a tan, and not forgetting my neck so I don't look like I'm wearing a mask. But because that was not enough for me, I went in with my Makeup Forever Pro Bronze Fusion in 20M. This is my all-time holy grail bronzer. It is beautiful and gives the most amazing natural bronzed look, and it's so luminous. It goes on like there's no powder on your face, and it's just stunning, and it's waterproof. Huge bonus. And to prevent an Oompa Loompa look, I'm going in with my L'Oreal powder and just buffing everything out. I'm using this e.l.f. blush brush and the yellow highlighter powder from the Lorac palette to just bring back some of the intensity in my contour that I lost while buffing. So I'm running that powder along the bottom edge of my contour and also pumping up the highlight underneath my eyes with the same yellow highlighter powder. For my blush, I'm going in with Nars Impassioned and taking my Nars Eyeshadow brush, I'm buffing that onto my cheeks above where I've placed my bronzer. And once I applied this, I kind of wanted a little more color, so I'm using my Sigma Aura powder in Nymphea, and taking the same brush, I'm popping that right over where I applied Impassioned. After adding my blush, I wanted to carve out my contour a little bit more, so I used this Tarte brush and applied the same yellow highlighter powder the exact same way, but just let it sit this time. For that glow, I went in with the NYX Strobe of Genius Illuminating Palette, which is honestly incredible, and using my Makeup Geek cheek highlighter brush, I dipped into the champagne shade in the palette and pretty much just went to town on my cheekbones. I am all about that glow life, like I really want you to see me from the moon, so I am definitely not afraid to pack on the highlight, the more the merrier, but I like to focus it primarily on the highest part of my cheekbone right there, and then whatever product is left, I just drag it onto the apples of my cheeks a little bit, and then onto my brow bone, and if I'm feeling extra, up there on my temples. And make sure you don't forget the tip of your nose and the bridge for an extra glowy look. And then taking my Nars Eyeshadow blush brush with no extra product, I'm blending out my cheeks, and taking the still damp beauty blender, I'm tapping it over all the highlighted areas. This is pretty much just going to remove any extra powderiness so the highlight looks really melted into the skin. And don't forget your Cupid's bow. To blend away any excess yellow powder and also to soften up the edge of my contour, I'm taking the same Ita brush and the same bronzer brush and just running that over where I had placed contour and bronzer earlier. Finally, onto the eyes, I'm going in with my Dose of Colors Ideal Duos in the shades Maple and Maroon, and using the tinted primers that come at the top of both, I'm going in with Maple on this Sigma flat shader brush first and applying that just to the centers of my lids. Now these primers are pretty much just cream shadows, they're super pigmented, but I really want to pack on the intensity of these so that the pigments themselves show up and really pack a punch. But make sure you're not bringing these up further than your lid. Flipping the same brush over, I'm going in with the maroon primer on the outer and inner third of my eye, and again, really keeping it on the lid, not going above the crease. Taking the same Morphe E28 brush that I used for my nose contour, I'm using the Buxom Single Eyeshadow in the shade Lingerie Lover, and I'm buffing that into my crease right along the edge of the cream primers. This is pretty much just going to blend everything together and act as a really nice transitioning shade and base also. And this is where we're also going to start building up a little bit of that smoked out effect. Taking a Sigma E57 firm shader brush, I'm starting to put down the maroon powder pigment right over where I placed the corresponding primer. But first, let me zoom you guys in. So these powders are actually so crazy dimensional. They have all these amazing like duochromes and glitters, and I find that they work best when you drag them like that rather than pat them. So you can see here the difference. I'm patting on the pigment first on the outer and inner third, and then when I drag it, you can see how much more intense the color becomes and how much more pigmented and metallic it is. And you can also see this amazing, like shocking pink duochrome through it. It is incredible. I love these. Taking the same brush and just flipping it to the other side, I'm using the maple pigment and focusing it just on the center of my lids. And I'm using the same dragging motion because it's the same for all of these pigments. There's some kind of crazy activation of some sort that happens when you drag them, and they're just unlike anything I've ever used in my life before. I'm using these small horizontal movements with my brush just to blend the edges of both the shades out. I definitely don't want them to be super blended together. I want it to be obvious that there are two colors on my lids, but just a slight blending of the edges so it doesn't look too stark. And then I'm just building up the maroon shade a little bit. Taking the same Morphe brush with the same Lingerie Lover eyeshadow, I'm blending out the edges. Now I'm super careful about bringing the metallic shade above my crease. Again, you want to keep it focused just on the lid, but I am using this Lingerie Lover shade to blend out the edges so it doesn't look messy. And now I'm also starting to add a little bit of darkness and smokiness to my crease and above so that we get that beautiful soft smoky eye effect. And I really like to focus darkness on the inner third of my eye right there when I'm doing a smokier eye because I think it just looks more unique. Now I'm just going back into the maple and maroon shades and applying them the exact same way I did before, but I'm doing this pretty much because whenever you blend anything out similar to the contour, you sometimes lose the intensity of other colors or other parts of your makeup. So it's always important if you're blending a lot to make sure that you add intensity wherever you really want it. So that's pretty much what I'm doing now. And then I'm going in one last time with my Morphe brush with no extra eyeshadow on it, and I'm just blending out the edges for one final blend. Now I'm taking the maple primer with the same flat shader brush and I'm smoking that out onto the lower lash line. I'm kind of making this line a little bit thicker because I definitely do want that smoky look. And before I go any further, I'm taking my L'Oreal powder and my e.l.f. blush brush and just dusting away any fallout under my eyes, which should be easy because I had put down a lot of the Laura Mercier powder before. Taking the maple pigment to start with, I'm applying that with the same E57 shader brush and I'm focusing that on the center, but I'm pressing down a little bit harder and using these side swiping motions so that I can get that metallic effect without dragging it down. And then I'm doing the same with maroon on the outer and inner thirds, pretty much mirroring exactly what I've done on the upper lid. Now I'm taking Lingerie Lover again on the same Morphe brush and smoking out that lower lash line. Again, I'm doing the exact same thing I did on the upper lid to the lower lid because I want it to be symmetrical. And then going back in with my e.l.f. blush brush and the L'Oreal powder, I'm just dusting away any fallout. For my inner corner highlight, I'm taking my NYX Illuminating Palette and the Sigma E30 pencil brush, and I'm packing this onto my inner corners and dragging it up along the inner part of my eye to my brow bone. I do this actually in all my tutorials. If you've seen any of my other videos, you would have seen me do this because I love the brightness it adds. And then taking the beige highlighter powder from the Lorac contour palette and the Sigma E55 brush, I'm running that along the brow bone. Now this is a matte highlighter and I wanted to keep it pretty matte on the highlight, but I am taking a little bit of that champagne shade from the NYX palette and popping it into the arch of my brows. I popped my brows on off camera and also sprayed my Makeup Forever Mist and Fix setting spray, as well as applied my Lancome Cils Booster XL lash primer to my lashes. Then using my Benefit Roller Lash, I applied a pretty generous but still light coat of this to my lashes. This is primarily just to remove any excess pigment that might have fallen onto my lashes, but I'm using falsies for this look, so I wanted to keep it light. Going in with my L'Oreal powder, I'm dusting away any excess fallout with my e.l.f. blush brush, and I'm also going to pump up my highlight a little bit. Sometimes when I use my Mist and Fix spray, it melts everything into my skin so beautifully, but I lose the intensity of my highlight at times. And using the e.l.f. blush brush and L'Oreal powder, I'm just blending out the edges of my highlight. And finally blending my cheeks out one last time with my Nars Chio. For falsies, I chose Cocoa Lashes in the style Queen Bee, and while my House of Lashes glue was getting tacky on them, I went in with my Shiseido lip liner in BE701 and completely lined and filled in my lips. I then went in with my Dose of Colors liquid lipstick in Stone, which is my favorite, and just dotted the tiniest bit onto my lips and patted it in with my fingers because I wanted it to be super muted and blended. So once my lashes were ready, I just popped them on. Now I'm making it sound super easy and effortless, but to be honest, whenever you're working with glitter or pigments or layers of product on your lids, your lashes can be a little bit difficult to apply because the glue has trouble actually sticking to your lash line because there's so much product in the way. So just be patient. I used layers of glue and I actually physically held my lashes in place for a little bit so that the glue could settle down onto my lash line and really stick. So just a piece of advice, but once these bad boys are on, they are stunning. For my lower lash line, I went in with Benefit Roller Lash and really packed this on. I love a good, intense lower lash line, especially with a dramatic look. It just opens up the eye so much and gives you this beautiful, feminine, doll-like effect. For my lips, this was when I decided to switch it up, and I used Melt Nude Lipstick and tapped this onto my lips and then rubbed it in with my fingers to blend it. Now it's a stunning nude shade, but you'll see why I decided to change this lip color at the end. Using my Marc Jacobs fine liner in the shade Blacker, I tightlined my eye to blend the lash line and also add a little bit of drama. And what I love about this is it's so precise that I always use it on the inner third of my eye a little bit more intensely, because when I wear lashes without any eyeliner, it just helps to blend the end of the lash band with my actual eyelid. With the Kat Von D Shade and Light eyeshadow palette, I'm using the black matte shade on my Sigma Waterliner E17 brush, and I'm just packing that along the lash band of my falsies. This is going to cover up any exposed glue that may look discolored, and it's going to help blend the lash band in. You can use any matte black eyeshadow. I just preferred this technique because it's the most subtle. And to pump up the lower lashes again, because I'm extra like that, I'm going in with the Marc Jacobs Velvet Noir Mascara and really just going to town on those lower lashes. This mascara is amazing for thickness and volume, and the duo of this with the Benefit Roller Lash, which I'm using here now, is lethal for the lower lashes. It literally makes your lower lashes look like they're falsies. So by now my lips look like this. So I went ahead and removed everything I had on my lips and went in with my original duo of the Shiseido lip liner with Stone liquid lipstick blended in on top. And this here is the final look. That brings me to the end of today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave a comment down below for me and let me know what you guys thought about the tutorial, and also let me know what looks you want to see from me next. But until the next video, thank you guys as always so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye guys!